Hello, welcome. Today I have this really cute wagon from the thrift store, along with I got a bag of pumpkins from the thrift store and a wood block. Those were from the kids section. When I go thrifting, I have to kind of like think about what I'm doing when I'm there. I really have to kind of keep my creative mind open and think of things. I never really ventured over to the children's section before, but I'm glad I did that day. They had a lot of really cute wooden toys. I kind of wish I would have picked up more, but I may go back and see if they still have some. So keep your eyes open. You'd be really surprised what you can find in those sections. All you have to do is just repaint them. And this is a really neat wood block that I got. I was very excited about this, and I am using that letter P for pumpkin. So I'm giving this, okay, the wood cart, I had to do a couple of coats of black paint on that, as well as the pesky little wheels. The wheels were a pain, but they're going to be very, very worth it in the end. And so I'm giving this wood block also a coat of black paint, and then I'm going to sand it down and stain it. So I'm giving this plastic pumpkin a coat of black paint as well. What I'm trying to do is add a base layer to everything, so I can start off with some deeper rich tones of whatever color of paint I put on top of it. And black is always a good way to establish a base coat for everything. So that's what I'm doing with this pumpkin. I do end up painting it orange, believe it or not. But you'll see when I do paint it orange why I did this black base coat. Okay, and so now here is that orange. This is from the Hobby Lobby. I guess it's like their house brand or their cheap brand. 49 cents, guys. The whole entire line is 49 cents, and they've got amazing colors. They're really nice. They're not thin. They're nice, thick acrylic. Very, very shocked by the price. And so this is an orange that I didn't have to kind of make my own or dilute it. It came this way. It's kind of a vintage orange. I really like it. I think it's called Orange Spice, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so I picked that one this year. I only picked one. I didn't want to go with a bunch of different oranges. Anything that I do paint for Halloween, I will be using this color, and I think it's going to work for most of my kind of vintage style projects. So I'm giving these kind of a sloppy coat. Not a big deal. I'm not getting really particular about those because I'm going to be sanding those down. Now here I go with the orange layer on this pumpkin, and it just gives everything a good starting point. So I'm just going to add probably, I think it was about 2 coats on this. So I'm just going to sand this down with my sanding block. I really want to get a nice distressing on this. The whole piece is going to be distressed. And so I'm going to use both my sanding block and a little bit of the sanding paper for some tighter spots. I'm taking some watered down antiquing wax, but I decided that it wasn't quite enough. So I'm going to switch over to just the straight Waverly antiquing wax. It's going to give me a darker, heavier look that I'm going for. And so now here I am with just a towel to rub it in, really get it down to that wood. I love how this looks. Again, anytime I can paint something black, sand it, and then add that wax, I absolutely love it. I have a soft spot for primitives, and so a lot of times you'll see some little bit of primitive styles in my work. And so now we're just going to go around some of these edges. This is really fun. I love to do, distress anything that I can. And so I'm also going to take the water down, and then I think I kind of mix it with some of the the wax itself, just to get into those little cracks and stuff. It makes it a little bit easier. So now I'm taking my sanding block. I'm just going to very gingerly sand the wheels down. You know, I'm really going for a very old, vintage, a very well-used kind of antique toy. And so I'm building layers. I started with the black, and then I painted with the orange. Now I'm going to sand some like scuffs in it. And then I'm going to do another wash of orange and then some staining on top of that. And what it's going to do is just add lots of layers, just like something you might see in an antique shop. And so there's really no way to mess this up. I thought at first when I started sanding these wheels, I got nervous and I thought, oh, I got to repaint them. But they're not supposed to be perfect. They're supposed to be really, really well worn and loved. And so that's what I'm going for with this entire piece. And in the end, you'll see how it all ties together. So here is the wash with the orange. What it's going to do is going to take down the sanding a bit. The scratches were a little harsh. I wanted to soften them just a little bit. So I decided to go with this wash of orange. And then after that, I'm going to go in with some antiquing. So I want to also sand down this wagon. I want to make sure that I don't scratch those wheels again. And so I'm just being very careful, taking my time to go around each of the edges and the wheels. I want to give this one good coat of antiquing wax just to pull the whole thing together. Okay, so let's get down to the fun part. I'm going to start to assemble. Now you'll see I put that E6000 on each end. It doesn't quite match up with the holes in the cart. So I kind of slide that E6000 through the center where I know the block is going to land. And along with the hot glue, it ends up working out just fine. So here is that coconut fiber again. I will put it in the description, the link for my Amazon link. I really like using this stuff. I think it's a great color, easy to work with, fairly clean and easy to use. And so I'm going to use it on this piece. You know, sometimes the that moss that you get is, you can get a grayish moss, or sometimes the green moss. I've even seen like a yellowy brown kind of moss. I like this a lot because it kind of matches, you know, antiquing. And so I like to use kind of a little bit of monochromatic colors. And so I like this coconut fiber. It works really well with my style. But, and it's easy to work with. And it really, really holds its shape. I mean, wherever you want it to go, it'll stay like exactly right where you put it. So it's really great stuff. You guys should try it out. Anyways, yeah, so I'm just going to hot glue this around the edges. I'm just going to secure the stem a little bit. I really like the style of this stem. I was going to paint it, but I do like the color of it. I'm going to leave it alone, but I do want to get it in there a little bit better. Okay, so I very rarely hand paint anything. I could hand paint stuff more. I would like to, especially for Halloween, but I don't, because I just don't really enjoy hand painting. I feel like it's so risky, you know, it's so final when you put that paint down. So anyways, I am going to hand paint today this face. I had no other choice. And so here I am with some black acrylic paint. I do kind of mark out where I'm going beforehand. That makes it a little bit easier. And I try not to be too hard on myself. You know, you just throw it on there. It always ends up looking neat. Most of the time, people see something different than what you see. And so I'm just kind of going for it. And I really like how it turned out. I'm giving this pumpkin a little bit of a wash with the antiquing wax and water. Now, I did not seal this. I'm just kind of going for it. I'm working fast. I'm not laying down too much and going over the same spot too many times. I don't want to start lifting and dragging that paint around just in case. Ideally, a spray matte sealer would have been the best route, or even just a Mod Podge sealer and then antique it. But I went for it today. I was fairly confident that it would work out. So now we are going to glue the pumpkin onto the top. It's already looking so adorable. I just love it. And okay, so that was hot glue and E6000. This is a foam pumpkin, and so I didn't want to just use the hot glue by itself. Okay, and so now I'm going to add just a little thin amount of the coconut fiber. The stem didn't quite lay flush with that pumpkin, so I wanted to add just a little touch up there. Also, for some interest, here is a rusty star that I hot glued right onto there. What is a primitive without a rusty star? And so you can see how the wheels really ties in to the whole thing. And okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking the Waverly clear matte sealer. I'm doing a very heavy layer. I want this to look like a, you know, like a shellacked piece, an antique, you know, just going for it. I know that it's going to dry clear. I'm not worried about it. Yes, I am putting this on after the coconut fiber. That's fine. It's all going to dry clear. It's going to be fantastic. And so I do want a nice thick coat on here for the entire piece. That's it for this project. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I enjoy all your wonderful comments. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.